various research, various types. Okay, today we shall discuss about the various types of research. First, we shall discuss about survey research. What is a survey research? Survey research is non-experimental, descriptive in nature, it is quantitative, and it is used for usually studying large sample. Okay, it is non-experimental. Why it is called non-experimental? Because it doesn't involve any observation under controlled conditions. We usually conduct a survey research on a large sample. Okay, you know, sample is a subset of population, and population is referred to as the universe of the study, which can be defined as a collection of people or object which possesses at least one common characteristics. Survey, there are several types of survey. Okay, first, cross-sectional survey. What is and the second type of survey is longitudinal survey. What is cross-sectional survey? Cross-sectional survey is used by the researcher when he or she wants to collect data from varied or different types of groups. Okay, so data from different types of groups, say from different age groups, sex group, different subjects with different national background, etc. At a single time. So data is collected once from different groups. Okay. Longitudinal study, you know, we want to study the same sample for a longer period of time. Okay, such longitudinal studies usually we use to study behavioral changes or developmental changes or changes in various practices in the life, etc. Coming to longitudinal survey, there are three main types of longitudinal survey. First, trend studies, second, cohort studies, and third, panel studies. In trend studies, the sample of the selected population we survey in trend studies, the sample of the population may be different. We study different samples from the same population at different times. We study them regularly. So, selected population is sampled and examined regularly. The sample here might not be the same because over a period of time we examine them regularly, and over a period of time they may not be available. The same people may not be available for various reasons. So we collect different samples from the same population and study them regularly at different times. That is the trend study. We use this method to analyze a trend of a phenomenon in a population. Suppose we want to study the fashion trend among the college students. So college students from college, the population of college students, different samples are selected and they are studied at different times. Second type of longitudinal survey is cohort studies. Cohort studies is also on a particular population which is sampled and studied more than once within a time gap. We may select a cohort. Okay, cohort, you know? Do you know what is cohort?
No, ma'am.
Cohort is all the people, they are born at a within a given period of time, and they have similar life experiences. Suppose my friends, we have a typical life experience. During our time, the society was different, and your friends, you now who are now 20 to 21 year olds girls, you have a different life experience. So my cohort's life experience is different from your age group of sample or your age group of people. So cohort are same age group of sample, and they have a typical life experience, because the society things taking place in the society is different at different times. Society changes. We have been exposed to different types of events, and you have different experiences. So this is cohort. So in cohort study, samples from the same cohort are studied more than once. So the sample may not be the same. Different samples are collected, but it is the population is a cohort. Suppose, for example, we may examine some issue on a sample of the people graduated from college in the year 2010. Okay, so we have to study more than once the samples of 2010 graduation batch. The sample is different, but the population is 2010 graduation batch. Okay, for example, suppose we will take those who are studying or appearing examination, their college examination in 2020. Now, all the examinations have been scrapped, cancelled, so you have a different type of experience. Okay, so after 5 years, who will be facing their university examination, they will not experience the same thing. So you constitute those who are appearing your MA examination in 2020 have a different experience. You constitute a cohort. Those who will be appearing the examination examination after 5 years, they constitute a cohort. So different age group of students constitute different cohorts. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Then the third type of study survey is panel study.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The third type of okay, what is the then difference between trend study and cohort study? If we are going to study
Ma'am,
the,
can you repeat the question?
what is the difference between trend study and cohort study?
Ma'am, I can't hear
Ma'am,
you.
ma'am, in trend study, we talk about the particular trend of a population, the thing that is being followed by a lot of people altogether. But at the same time, in cohort studies, we talk about the mindset of a particular generation.
Yes. So cohort study is more specific. Population is more specific.
Yes.
So then coming to the third type of survey, it is panel studies. In panel studies, the researcher uses the same sample of people every time and studies them at different times. So the sample is called a panel. So same sample is selected, they constitute a panel and they are studied at different times. So the reason behind this study or the objective of this type of study is to know whether there is any change in their habits or developmental changes, etc. Attitudinal change, change in habit, etc. We can study them. But it is difficult because the same subjects may not be available. It is known as attrition rate. Attrition means difficulty in availability of the people, same people. So, what types of instruments are used in survey? In survey, we can use questionnaires as well as we can interview them. In questionnaires, we can also administer the questionnaire through mail. So there can be mail survey or questionnaires can be administered in group. So there are group administered questionnaires, or the survey can be conducted in a manner in which this researcher goes door to door to the respondents and personally hands over as well as collects the questionnaire from them. So first, the questionnaires can be administered through mail. Nowadays, since there is lockdown due to corona, you can see a number of mail surveys, mail questionnaires. People are doing their research by administering questionnaires through mail. So they are administering questionnaires through mail. They are doing mail surveys. We can also administer the questionnaire in groups. It is in both mail survey and group administered questionnaire. Less time is consumed and it is a convenient method of, both the methods are convenient methods of getting responses. However, in male surveys, there is a difficulty that if the person has any doubt on any item of the questionnaire, it cannot be cleared through mail survey. But in group administered questionnaire and household survey, since we are facing the subjects, they can clear their doubts. But and household survey is good, but it is more time taking and difficult. And coming to the forms of questionnaires, there are several forms of questionnaires. These are mail survey, group administered survey, and household drop-off survey are the manner in which the questionnaires can be administered. Okay. Then coming to the format of the questionnaire. Format of the questionnaire can be, the questionnaire can be dichotomous. Dichotomous means there are two possible answers like yes or no, true or false, etc. Um, do you believe in the existence of God? Either you say yes or no, like this. Then we have a second type of questionnaire that is called as level of measurement based questions. The questions may have different levels of measurement. We have measurement scales, different types of measurement, levels of measurement. They are nominal, ordinal, and interval. On nominal, if we are using in nominal scale, then suppose we are asking, please state the category to which you belong: general, OBC, SC, ST, others, etc. Okay, so there are more than two possible responses there can be, and all the responses are nominal categories. Okay. The numbers here just denote the serial. We are just mentioning the categories. If we are using a ordinal level of measurement, then it is like that. Rank your classmates in order of popularity. Okay. So Sumitra is there, Nikki is there, Anjani is there, Jyoti is there, Sabita is there, etc. So we have to rank them in order of popularity or in order of regularity. So we rank Sumitra 1, we rank Nikki 2, we rank Anjani 3. These are ordinal, these are rankings. These are in ordinal scales. In ordinal scale. So the respondent may rank the names on the basis of their likings and preferences. Okay. Then the questions based on interval scale. It can be on interval scale. So the questions based on interval scale may be based on rating the choice. That these are Likert type of scales. Suppose the university is well equipped for online classes. You have to rate your opinion. First, strongly agree, agree, So, you know, what the I so we have more than uh, vaccine question on here. Question. Okay. So you must have I may break then follow. So, so awesome. Okay. Uh, yes. Okay.
Ma'am, I'm extremely sorry to interrupt, but you are not audible. I guess we are having some network errors.
So, now,
Ma'am, I think you have some network issues. Hello? Hello, ma'am.
hello.
Are you getting my voice? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Ma'am, hello? 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 Hello?
Hello.
Ma'am, you are not at all audible. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Am I your
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Let me ask. Hello.
Hello?
Ask, uh,
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
madam is not audible.
No, sir.
Okay, I will reconnect. I think if you will call again, mm, maybe there's some problem. I'll call him.
Okay, sir.
Uh. पर्टिकुलर नेटवर्क आपण आउट जॉइन करू नांदी हां 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 मुझे भी मेसेज देली आपन मे बी नेटवर्क आपण देखो आपण नेटवर्क टा ठीक ठाक अछि ना हां आपकी नेटवर्क सजे जीवो कि कोन माने देखले मैडम आउथरे रिसेट करबे कंप्यूटर ना आपण मैडम लैंडलाइन इंटरनेट टा हां फोन ने टिके डिस्कनेक्ट मेसेज आसले भाई ये आसले बबे डिस्कनेक्ट हे आपण लैंडलाइन अछि लैंडलाइन हां आगे आगे करन मु ऑनलाइन अछि आपण प्रॉब्लम हां हां थैंक यू हेलो हेलो
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Actually, she is trying. She have some net problem. She is trying. She will come soon.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Uh, she has some net problem. Okay, so she's actually she has connected with the mobile. Actually, mobile. What is happened? Uh, sometimes it is network will come. Sometimes some message will come. Again, network will disconnect, and some problem is there maybe. And she will connect soon. And I am also in online. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Later come. Then I maybe he's coming again. I think already came. I think so. Ah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome.
Ma'am, please on your microphone. Hello, sir.
Hello. What is
Yes,
happening?
sir. Madam is not there.
Some problem may be already joined.
Yes, sir.
She's telling some microphone. Uh, okay. Okay. Madam, okay, is it? What is happened? I think you have done the microphone off. In your side, madam, please. Hello. Madam, your side, you should on the microphone. Hello. Hello. Okay. Audio.
Sir, please
Yes, tell me.
tell her how to do that. Sir,
Okay.
call madam and tell her how to do that. Please,
Okay,
sir.
okay, 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 okay.
Sir, now can you hear
Now it
me?
is audible. Yes, yes,
Okay.
madam.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
You
Yes,
are audible.
ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Madam, that is in your side. You have to click in the desktop, and there is a left corner. Is there that mic corner? You have to click it. Okay. So it will be audible.
Okay.
Okay, madam. Now you are okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, girls, what we were discussing about?
Ma'am, you were asking is the university equipped to conduct online classes?
I could not get you. What are you saying?
Ma'am, we were discussing the interval level of measurement
Okay.
internet.
So, after interval level of measurement, we have, yes, we have another type of question. It is filter type. Filter type means a question leads to another question. Suppose I ask you, have you ever attended the library of your university? The options are yes or no. Then the question follows. If yes, then how many times? Options are once in a month, twice in a month, every week, like this. Okay. So the researcher may use such type of filter questions in his or her survey questionnaire. And coming to interviews can be structured interview and unstructured interviews. Structured interviews are those in which the questions, the order of questions, and the possible responses are fixed. Okay, so they are asked in a fixed manner, and the responses are to be given also in a fixed manner. An unstructured interview is one in which the interaction between researcher and the respondent takes place in an informal way. Nothing is pre-planned in advance. The response of the respondent gives a clue to the researcher to ask him or her the next question. Okay, so the response of the respondent determines what question the researcher is going to ask next or will ask next. Then another type of interview is a telephonic interview. In now usually structured interview and unstructured interview, these interviews are used in a face-to-face situation. But telephonic interview, in order to save time and money, the researcher may call the subjects or and ask them questions to collect data. So these are regarding the instrument used in a survey research. Then what are the steps in a survey research? How a survey research is conducted? So we have to go, if we are to conduct a survey research, the first step is to determine the aim and objective of the study. So what we are actually going to study, we have to be very clear about it. Second, define the population to be studied. Second step is define the population to be studied. Then third, design and construct the study. We have to select the instrument for study, whether we are going to administer a questionnaire or telephonic interview. And design means whether we are going to conduct a cross-sectional survey or longitudinal survey. We have to design it and select the instrument and construct the instrument. And we have to conduct a pilot study if it is necessary. Pilot study, you know, is a small study taken in advance of a major investigation. Then we administer the questionnaire to a representative sample. Then we collect the data and analyze and interpret the findings. Analyze the data and interpret the findings. Then we prepare a report and communicate the findings by publishing it in journals, or we give the report to a government if we are surveying on the behalf of a government agency. So what are the advantages of a survey research? First, it is convenient and less time taking. Okay. Second, we gather data from a large number of people. Our sample is very large. So the findings are more generalizable. Okay. And if we are conducting a longitudinal type of survey, the survey is conducted over a long period of time. So this gives us a chance to know the latest advancements in the subject. But survey research has some limitations. First, if we are administering a group, if we are administering the questionnaire in group, or we are interviewing the subject respondent, then there is chance that the people may not give their honest answer, because there are chances of they may give their response in a socially desirable manner. And in case of longitudinal data, there is the chance of attrition of subjects. So, coming to experimental method. Experimental method is very systematic and it is very scientific. All the science subjects, natural science, physical science, they use experimental method. Experimental method is characterized by two things. First, experimenters control. Okay, experimenter controls every variable other than the independent variable. Okay, and second is manipulation of independent variable. The experimenter directly manipulates the independent variable. Since all other variables are controlled except the independent variable, we can say that with certainty that the change in dependent variable is due to the change in independent variable. Change in dependent variable is caused by the change in independent variable, because the all other variables have been, extraneous variables have been controlled. So this is experimental method. Experimental method can be conducted in laboratory, or there can be field experiments. So in laboratory conditions, we call the subjects to the laboratory setting, and we administer the tests in the laboratory in a very controlled condition. So internal validity is high in experimental method. There are, but it is criticized that the laboratory condition is a artificial condition. So the findings obtained in a laboratory experiment may not be generalizable to real life situations, because laboratory is an artificial situation. Laboratory conditions are artificial. That's why we conduct field experiments. In field experiments, we conduct the experiment in a natural setting. So if we are studying the students, we study them in their natural environment, say in school, or in the playground, or we study them, study the people in marketplace. So we study the subjects in their natural environment. But here we manipulate the independent variable and observe the changes in the dependent variable. Since we are studying in a natural environment, in their natural environment, we cannot control all the extraneous variables. So less control is possible. But we manipulate the independent variable in their natural environment. So external validity of the experiment is more than laboratory experiments, but internal validity is less. However, we exercise some amount of control by matching the subjects. We cannot control all the extraneous variables, but we exert some amount of control by matching the subjects, or by controlling the effect of extraneous variable statistically. Then we have I can give you examples of laboratory experiment and field experiment. Let me give examples. In laboratory experiment, suppose we are going to study the effect of noise on the recall of nonsense syllables. So we control the all other variables, and we expose the subjects to various amounts of various intensities or various degrees of noise, or various types of noise, whatever may be our independent variable. Okay. In field experiment, suppose we are going to test the effect of giving feedback to the subject on their performance. Okay, on their marks, examination marks. So we take two groups of students from a school. We may take it randomly. We may match them in terms of their ACS, age, class, and intelligence level, etc. Then divide them randomly to an experimental group and to a control group. The experimental group is given feedback for their responses, for their achievements, and the control group is not given feedback. Then we test them, compare them in terms of their examination performance. So we are manipulating the independent variable, that is to one group we are giving feedback, and to the other group we are not giving feedback, and we are observing or studying the effects in terms of their examination performance. We are comparing the performance level of both the groups. So it is field experience. Then comes another type of research, quasi-experimental research. Quasi-experimental means it is almost, it appears to be an experiment, but it is not actually an experimental research. It appears to be an experimental research. Okay. When we conduct a quasi-experimental research is when the independent variable cannot be manipulated by the experimenter. It is beyond the experimenter's control, and or it is unethical to administer the independent variable. Okay. So since we cannot administer or we cannot manipulate the independent variable, random assignment of subjects to experimental and control group is not possible. Okay. We cannot randomly assign the subjects to experimental group and to control group. So we have to select the subjects. Select the subjects from the group which has been exposed to the independent variable, and from the subjects from those who have not been exposed to the independent variable. So suppose we are the independent going to study the effect of what corona infection. Okay, so we are going to compare the effects of corona COVID-19 infection on the anxiety level of the subjects. Okay, so we cannot actually inject coronavirus to the experimental group. Okay, it is unethical. So what we can do, we select some subjects from those who are COVID-19 affected or infected. Okay, and the comparison group will be selected from COVID-19 negative people. Okay, then we compare the anxiety level of both the groups. So here we cannot administer the or manipulate the independent variable to the subjects. So we cannot assign the subjects randomly to experimental group or control group. So in case of quasi-experimental research, it is better to use the term comparison group instead of control group. Okay. So quasi-experimental studies we conduct very often. We conduct in psychology, we conduct quasi-experimental studies. So the independent variable may be here exogenous or endogenous. Exogenous means the independent variable is an external factor. Okay, like suppose like your COVID-19 infection. This is an external factor. Endogenous independent variable. Suppose we are going to study the level of intelligence on academic achievement. So here we cannot manipulate the level of intelligence of subjects. So we have to compare them, select them from highly intelligent subjects or medium level of intelligence, etc. Intelligence is some internal factor. Okay. So it can be endogenous or exogenous, the independent variable. Experimental, quasi-experimental experiments have a good balance of internal validity as well as external validity. We have what we are doing in experimental research. We are administering the independent variable, then we are observing its effect. So, and we establish a cause and effect relationship. Okay. So here the independent variable comes first, then we study the dependent variable. We start our research from the independent variable, cause of the research. The factor which we believe to be the cause is administered first. Okay, so we start with the cause. These type of studies are known as prospective studies. Okay, prospective means the researcher tries to find out the future or potential results, that is the effect, after treating the independent variable or cause. Okay, so after manipulating the independent variable, we are trying to find out the future result. It is prospective research. There are also some retrospective research. Retrospective research means the researcher tries to trace the history. The effect is there. The researcher tries to find out the cause of the event. Okay, cause some event is there. So the researcher tries to find out the cause of the event. So here the result has already occurred. Okay, the effect is already there. We try to find out the cause behind its occurrence. That means we move from effect to cause. Okay? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Causal factors are pre-existing. We are not manipulating them. They have already occurred. Effect has also already occurred. So we start from the effect, then we go back to the cause. This type of, there is a type of research,
Ma'am, I got a doubt. Ma'am, post-facto
Yes.
research and retrospective report, what is the difference between them? Like in ex post facto research, we try to predict the effect from the cause, and in retrospective report we also do the same thing. How is it different?
No. We, in all type of research, we are explaining a phenomenon. We are trying to find out a cause and effect relationship. Definitely, when we can say that X is the cause of Y. So there are some conditions to establish causation. Okay, first, both the factors should be associated. Whenever X, there should be Y. So both the factors should be there. Okay. Then there should be an order. First comes X, then comes Y. So Y follows X. Okay. then we can say, and it should be in near future, then we can establish a cause and effect relationship. Y follows X. Okay.
Ma'am, in ex post facto research, X follows Y, and in retrospective research, Y follows the X.
No, in all types of causal relationship, cause is followed by effect. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All types of research. But in prospective research, we start from the cause. We manipulate the independent variable. Independent variable, we are believing it to be the cause of the effect, cause of the dependent variable. Okay. So independent variable, what is independent variable? Whose effect we are going to study. So independent variable is the cause. Dependent variable is the effect. We manipulate the independent variable. Okay. Then we study the effect. So we start our study from the cause. First we manipulate the independent variable. Okay. So this is prospective. We try to find out the future result. What will happen? Okay. In retrospective research, event has already occurred. Effect is already there. And we are trying to find out the cause. We are not looking forward the effect. We are trying to look backward to the cause. So it is in the opposite direction. Definitely because comes first, then cause is followed by effect. But we do not know the cause. We have not administered the independent variable. We observe the effect. Then we try to find out the cause. Okay. We go back to the history. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
This is
Yes, ma'am.
retrospective.
Ma'am, ma'am,
Yes.
in ex post facto research, first, in all kinds of research, the cause is followed by the effect. Uh,
Yes.
by in every research, we try to predict the future by manipulating the independent variable. But in
Yes.
prospective, this is also done in case of prospective research. But in case of retrospective research, the results are already there. I mean, the effect is already there. By
Hmm.
studying the effect, we try to find out the cause. This is the only
Yes.
difference.
Yes. So
Okay.
we
Thank you, ma'am.
move in an opposite direction.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We have the effect, then we go back, try to find out, we analyze the history and try to find out the cause. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ex post facto research is retrospect in nature. So the researcher here predicts a cause on the basis of a controlled effect. Here the effect is controlled. Since no variation can be done on the effect, which has already taken place on the basis of the independent variable. So the effect is there, it is controlled, no variation is there, and we try to predict the cause. Suppose we are trying to find out the cause of lungs cancer. Okay. We go back to the history of the patients suffering from lungs cancer. Then, by analyzing various factors, we come to conclude that smoking causes lungs cancer. Okay. So, the cause is past, effect has already occurred. Okay. We cannot make variation here. So we select the person with who manifest the effect, then we analyze their past to predict the possible cause. Clear? We cannot here conduct a prospective study because we cannot, it is unethical to expose the subjects to harmful conditions, to conditions which may have harmful consequences. So we cannot allow the experimental group to smoke and control group to not to smoke, then wait if the experimental group is suffering from lungs cancer or not. We cannot conduct such a type of study. So we have to research to ex post factor research, which is retrospective in nature. So here it is empirically based investigation, but it doesn't involve the researcher's direct control over the independent variable because they have already led to the effects and no more can and it can no more be manipulated. Okay, so the conclusions regarding the relationship between the variables are inferred without intervening or varying the independent variable or dependent variable. Okay, it has already occurred. What are the characteristics of an ex post facto research? First, the research has a control or comparison group. We have an experimental group with the effect and a control or comparison group without the effect. In this case, it is better to use comparison group, the word comparison group. So we have a comparison group which acts like a control group. In experimental research, what we were doing, we were having an experimental group which was exposed to the independent variable and a control group which was not exposed to the independent variable. That means independent variable means cause, which was exposed to the cause. Experimental group was exposed to the cause and control group was not exposed to the control group cause. In ex post facto research, we have the experimental group which has the effect. Okay, and we have the control group or comparison group which doesn't have the effect. Clear? Second characteristic is the behavior, and we compare both the groups, experimental group and the control or comparison group, to find out a cause and effect relationship. Second characteristic is the behavior, action, event or the treatment, whatever we may say. That means the independent variable cannot be manipulated or changed. Okay, it has already occurred. So second characteristic is the independent variable cannot be manipulated or changed. Third, the research focuses on the effects. Okay, the research tries to analyze the how and what aspects of an event. So the research the researcher has an interest in the effect. Okay, then the researcher analyzes the how and what or why of this effect. So, what factors are responsible for this effect? Thus, the researcher explores a possible causes of the effects. Okay, so what are the differences between experimental and ex post facto research? First,
Ma'am, experimental type of research, yeah, prospective type of
yes,
research, and post factor research is a retrospective type of
very
research.
good.
Uh, in experimental research, we follows the effect from the cause, and here we follows the cause from the effect.
Yes. So,
Then
right, you study in experimental research, you are predicting the effect from the cause. Okay. In ex post facto
yes, ma'am.
research, you are predicting the cause from the effect.
Effect. Yes, ma'am.
So, there in experimental research, there is control over independent variable. In ex post facto research, the independent variable cannot be directly manipulated. It has already occurred. So we cannot directly manipulate it or change it. In experimental research, randomization can be used so that it can be said that other factors remain equal. Why we do randomization? We follow randomization in an experiment to cancel out the extraneous variables, effects of extraneous variables. Okay. So, by randomization, we say that other factors, effect of other factors remain equal for all the subjects. So, the change in independent variable is due to the change in independent variable. But in ex post facto research, randomization is not possible. Then, at the level of interpretation, in experimental research, because of the manipulation of independent variable, interpretation is easier, and in ex post facto research, it is difficult to interpret because more than one probable cause may be there. Okay. Since we cannot control all the extraneous variables and we cannot use randomization, there can be more than one probable cause. Suppose in case of lungs cancer, okay, we can go back and analyze the probable causes. There may be, we conclude that smoking is the cause of um, lungs cancer. Okay, smoking is causing lungs cancer, but there might be other causes which are also responsible for the development of lungs cancer. So there may be genetic hereditary factors, genetic factors. There may be other physiological factors. There may be other factors. So it is difficult to interpret. Okay. So more than one probable cause may be there. Thus, in ex post facto research, the internal validity is less in comparison to the experimental research. Okay. And I have already explained you about the requisites of inferring a causal relationship. I have already told you. There are three requirements. First, associative variation. A variation in X yields a variation in Y. Always X change in X is associated in change in Y. Okay. So there is associative variation. Second, there is a definite order of both the factors. X must occur before the or simultaneously with Y, not after Y. So X must occur before Y, not after it. Then absence of other factors. We are controlling every other factors. So that means other factors are absent. Then only we can say X causes Y. So since in ex post facto research, we cannot control the other factors, the degree of confidence with which we can say that X causes Y is less. Okay. That means the internal validity is less than the experimental validity. So what are the strengths and weaknesses of ex post facto research? Ex post facto, most of the clinical research are ex post facto research. When we are studying with clinical sample, we go for ex post facto research. Suppose what causes schizophrenia? We cannot manipulate the independent variable and then look for the dependent variable whether the person is developing schizophrenia or not. Okay. So ex post facto research is very relevant method where the variables cannot be manipulated. Okay. This type of research can include many sociological, educational, as well as clinical variables. We may study delinquents. So, what are the causes of delinquency? We have to go for ex post facto research. Educational achievement. Suppose a student fails. Okay. What are the possible causes of his academic failure? We have to resort to ex post facto research. And clinical field, in clinical fields, we also use ex post facto research. So, it is useful in that it analyzes cause on the basis of effects, which is impossible in experimental research. But limitations are I have already discussed. Independent variable cannot be manipulated. Okay? And a researcher cannot randomly assign the subjects to different groups. That's why the internal validity is less than the experimental research. Okay? So, are you now clear what is a true experiment, what is a field laboratory experiment, what is field experiment, and what is quasi experiment, and what is ex post facto research? Are you clear? If you
Yes, ma'am.
have any doubt,
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
me.
No, ma'am. I don't have any doubt.
Okay. Um, we have another type of research, causal comparative research. Causal comparative research, we compare different groups of subjects, and we do not actually manipulate the independent variable. The groups are there. We compare them as we compare males and females. We compare students coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds. These are causal comparative research. We compare different groups of subjects and try to establish or a causal relationship. Then another type of research, case study. Okay. Case study research. Case study method involves an in-depth study of a single subject or event. Okay. We take a single subject. We may here take a single group. We study a group of subjects and we study it as a group, as a unit. We may study an event. We may study an organization, anything. So, case study is non-experimental, it is descriptive, or it can also be explanatory. Do you know what is a descriptive and what is explanatory? Do you know the
No,
difference?
ma'am. No, ma'am.
In descriptive research, in descriptive study, we describe a population. Okay. We describe a population as in survey research. We describe the population. It may be quantitative or it may be qualitative also, but we describe it. There is no hypothesis testing as in experimental method. In explanatory research, we are trying to explain the phenomenon. We are trying to explain the phenomenon means we are trying to find out the probable cause of the phenomenon. Okay. So, case history, as I told you, can be applied on a single subject, a group. It can be a class within a school within a city, or an event. While survey method involves collection of data about few factors, a smaller number of factors from a large sample. Case study makes an in-depth and intensive study of a single subject or event. Okay. In survey research, we study a large number of subjects. The sample is large. Okay. But we study few factors, a smaller number of factors. But in case study, we take one or a smaller number of people and make an in-depth analysis. We study a large number of factors, all the possible factors. We are going into it. Case study can be quantitative or can be qualitative. Okay. We have, if we are conducting a quantitative case study, we have a research design called single subject research design. We take a single subject, administer or manipulate the independent variable, then observe the dependent variable. So it can be a single subject research design if it is a quantitative case study. And in qualitative, we can also study a single case or single group or a single event qualitatively. Case study is an empirical inquiry. Okay. The researcher investigates a phenomenon within its real life context. Okay. Case study helps the researcher gain an understanding of why the particular instance happened. Okay. So the researcher gains an understanding of why the particular instance happened. Try to find out the cause. So case studies can be helpful in generating hypothesis as well as testing hypothesis. Okay. Suppose I am giving you an example. Suppose a student is underachieving. Okay. So why the student's achievement level is low? We study this case, particular case. We make an in-depth analysis. We take his case history. Okay, you know case history, detailed past history of the subject. So starting from the students' prenatal history, natal history, then history of disease, hospitalization, accidents, and whether there is history of this difficulty in his or her family. Everything we consider. Then we try to find out what might be the probable cause. What is the probable cause? What might be the contributing factor to his underachievement? So then From this case analysis, we can generate hypothesis. This may be due to this, and we can also test hypothesis as in single subject design quantitatively. When we are doing a quantitative case study, we test a hypothesis. Case
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes, yes, are you saying?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yes, ask. Yes, what is your doubt?
Yes, ma'am. Hello. Yes, ma'am. You
Hello.
told that a case study involves a descriptive research, right?
Yes,
So in descriptive research, there is no hypothesis.
there is no hypothesis. You are true, but it can also be explanatory. It can be descriptive. It can also be explanatory.
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
When it is explanatory, we can generate hypothesis or we can test hypothesis.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Case studies may involve single or multiple case studies. Okay. We can also take multiple cases. Usually, when we do qualitative research, suppose I am going to study the prosthetic users. Prosthetic users, do you understand? Those who are using artificial limb. Okay. What are the difficulties? I am going to study the difficulties faced by the prosthetic users. Okay. Or I am going to study the life of the prosthetic users. We may take 5 to 10 case studies, 5 to 10 cases of prosthetic users and study their life problems. Okay. So it can also involve multiple case studies. I have already told you it can include quantitative as well as qualitative data or evidence. Case studies are based on multiple sources of evidence. We gather in data from multiple sources. We use interview, we use observation, we administer psychological tests, inventories, or archival records also. Okay. We may go back to study the person's school history. It is there in the school record, so we are going to archival records. Okay. So we gather information from multiple sources so that an in-depth analysis can be possible. Case study method is used in clinical psychology, guidance, counseling, and school psychology, social work, etc. Management studies, they use case study method. They study the case of organizations. Why a particular organization makes profit, or why a particular organization fails to make profit, etc. Then what are the criteria for selection of a case study? For For selection of cases for the case study, often information-oriented sampling is used. We are interested in a particular phenomenon. We have information that such person is having or is displaying such phenomenon. So we sample or select that case. That is information oriented sampling. Suppose for example, I am interested to study the prosthetic users. I know that such and such people are using prosthetics. Then I may take them as my cases. Okay. Another criteria can be extreme or atypical cases are taken. Okay. Why? Normal cases or average cases cannot give us much information. Okay. We select those cases which can yield much information. So, extreme or atypical cases can provide us more information than average person. So, we usually select extreme or atypical cases. And obviously, in case study method, random sampling is not possible. So, random sampling is not there. Okay. There are several types of case studies. Illustrative case studies. Illustrative case studies are case studies where we use these cases as examples. Okay. These are illustrative case studies. Then second type of case study is exploratory or pilot case studies. Actually, conducting the
Ma'am,
yes,
illustrate. I can't get it.
we study some atypical cases and we use them as examples. Okay. We use them as examples.
Okay, ma'am.
Exploratory or pilot case studies, before conducting an experiment, we may go for studying some cases in order to know that whether our sample is correct or sample is representative of the population in which we are interested, or whether the instruments are relevant, etc. In order to ensure that, we may go for exploratory case studies. That are like pilot case studies. Then we have critical instance case studies. We are very atypical cases, very rare cases, we go for studying them. We know Freud used case study method. Okay. What are the advantages of case study?
Ma'am, it helps to generate hypotheses for further
Yes,
research.
very good. It helps us in generating hypothesis. It gives us in-depth knowledge about a person or about the case, and um, it also gives us a scope to cross-examine. Okay, when we are conducting a case study, we observe that these and these are these factors are present, and we can cross-examine it. Um, whether it is also possible in other cases or not. What are the limitations? Since
Ma'am,
usually
this may be time taking or expensive.
uh, it is having less generalizability.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
It's also expensive.
it may be expensive, may not be, but its internal as well as external validity is low. Okay,
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
so there are steps for case study. When we are going to conduct a case study, you have to first determine the present status of the case. Okay, how to determine the present status? You may have go for a physical examination of the cases, or a psychological examination, or your observation. Okay, so if you are going to study the case of a slow learner, you have to determine the present status, whether actually what is the status of the slow learner, that particular slow learner. So we have to make an assessment of his physical cognitive factors through direct observation or psychological tests. Then we are going to identify the most probable antecedents, the case history. We are going to study the history of the subject. So we are going to interview the parents, interview the teachers. We are going to administer questionnaires. We may also interview the person. We may go for archival records. So we are going to the probable antecedent causes. Then we may generate hypothesis or verify the probable antecedent. Then we may make the diagnosis with remedial measures. We may suggest some remedial measures and follow up the cases, whether the remedial measures are effective or not. Okay, so usually, while doing a case study, we suggest some remedial measures. Okay, because we know the cause, and we do not suggest anything for the remediation of the cause. It is unethical. Okay, do you have any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Ma'am, I don't have any doubt.
ma'am, can you please
Okay.
repeat the first criteria for conducting a case study research?
First criteria
Yes, ma'am.
is we select case, okay, from those which we can obtain maximum information. We have some information about the status of the case, particular case. We know that X is a slow learner. Okay, then we
Yes,
should
ma'am.
start. I should not take you as a case, assuming that you are a slow learner. It is not. It should not be like that. I have some information. I may have teacher's report. I may have the report of the family members. I may have a doctor's report. So I have some information and I select those cases which can give maximum information. That's why we select second criteria, extreme and atypical cases. Okay. Normal
Yes, ma'am.
cases cannot yield much information. Um, So we have some information. First criteria is we have some we cannot randomly select a person assuming that him or her as an atypical case. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
that is the first criteria. And the second criteria is uh, from where we can get maximum information. That's why it is information oriented. Sample selection is information oriented.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think we should end it now. Your
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. Have a
Okay,
good day.
ma'am.
You
Thank you, ma'am.
too. Have a good day. Thank you for patient listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Paper, ma'am.
Um, yes. Are you saying something?
Ma'am says left.
Acha. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Welcome and
Thank,
have a wonderful day.
thank you, ma'am. Same to you.
Thank you too, ma'am.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.